Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. My name is Saul Weinreb, and I am your host for this podcast. We are about to begin the study of chapter 3 of Isaiah. This chapter is a continuation of the prophecy that Isaiah spoke in the last chapter, and according to our understanding, it was also spoken during that fateful time of the Assyrian siege of Jerusalem, with which the book of Isaiah began. Isaiah, or Yeshayahu, has just exhorted us to stop looking at people and ourselves as the source of power and to humbly accept the judgment of God. The logical next step for the prophet is to turn to the people who are most guilty of haughtiness, those who are of the leadership classes. We all know too well that when a person in the position of power over others is arrogant and ascribes his success and position to his own greatness, that he then becomes corrupt and uses his power to enrich himself and impoverish those beneath him. Yeshayahu informs us that in order to reach the time, that beautiful time, which he prophesies in the beginning of chapter 2, of beating our swords into plowshares and knowing war no more, that we will need to get rid of the corrupt and arrogant leaders first and accept the sovereignty of God alone. Only then will our leaders be there to serve the people and to serve the cause of true justice. Isaiah begins with verse 1. Ki hinei ha'adon Adonai tzvaot meisir mirushalayim u'miyudah mash'enu mash'ena kol mishan lechem v'chol mishan mayim. For in the future God our Master will remove from Judah and Jerusalem, all of those leaders upon whom we rely today for our food and sustenance. How often do we find that those people of power in our economy, which should be the source of sustenance of mishan lechem and mishan mayim for all, have instead become a system designed to enrich the wealthy and impoverish the poor. Isaiah continues in verse 2. Gibor v'ish milchama shofet v'navi v'kosem v'zakein. This corruption extends to all types of leaders. The Gibor and Ish milchama, the military powers. Shofet, the justice system. V'navi v'kosem v'zakein. The prophets, meaning the false religious leaders, and even the elders, meaning the intelligentsia. Sar chamishim unesufanim v'yoetz v'chacham charashim unevon lachash. He continues to list more types of leaders. Leaders aren't only kings and princes or presidents and senators, but it's also Sar chamishim, the captain of 50, meaning the local governments, and nesufanim, those that are honored for their wealth. Yoetz, advisors. Chacham charashim, the Radak beautifully describes as the modern equivalent would be a professor that teaches in a way that silences their students. Chacham Charashim, a wise person that makes his students silent, that doesn't allow them to speak. Unevon Lachash, which the Radak explains are those that understand the ways of Tana, the ways of defense in court, the attorneys that are corrupt. All of these leaders are corrupt. God says that instead inexperienced youth will be placed as leaders in their place, for there will be a lack of qualified leadership. The people will begin to oppress each other, for the leadership is gone. Every man against the others, and they're going to go and look for leadership. The young versus the old, the lowly and the honorable. People will be searching for leadership. The people will descend into chaos. Every man will grab someone that even has the clothing, appears like a leader, says, maybe you should be the one, you be the leader. And then that person himself will say, Isa bayomahu lemar, lo eyechovesh. I cannot be a healer, I cannot be the leader, I cannot heal the society. Even in my home, ein lechem be'en simla. This cloak, this garment that makes me appear to be a leader, I don't have it, it's all fake. Lo tisimeni kitzinam, don't make me an officer over the nation. Ki chashlo Yerushalayim, why is this? because Judah and Jerusalem, the Jewish people have fallen, they have turned against God. Ki lishonamu malaleim el Adonai lamrot einei kvodo. How is this? In what way did they provoke God? Hakorat b'neihem antabam. Hakorat b'neihem. This is a reference to flattery, bribery, pandering to human beings and their arrogance. Remember the command which Isaiah gave us at the end of chapter 2. Chilulachem min adam. Stop being afraid of mankind. Stop pandering to human beings. B'chatatam kisdom higidu lo chicheidu oy lenafsham ki gamlu lahem ra'ah. Woe is to these people, for they wrought evil against themselves. And then Isaiah ends in what's really words of consolation. Imru tzadik kitov kifri malaleim yochelu. When will this end? When will this lack of leadership end? When people finally look to the truly righteous and say, that is good. When they finally recognize that it's not the trappings, not the simla, not the clothing that makes people look like they're a leader, but the one who is actually a tzaddik, the one who is actually good. That is good. That is what our leadership should look like. Kifri ma'alaleim yochelu. The truly righteous truly will enjoy the fruits of their labor. And in verse 11, oy l'rosh hara, and people will then go and say, woe is to that evil person, because that is evil. The one who is arrogant, that is evil. Ki gmul yadav asalo. He will be the one who eventually will suffer the downfall from his own handiworks, from his own worship of the things that asalo, the thing of gmul yadav, of the things that he made with his own hands. Those things themselves will turn against him. That's when we will find true compassionate leadership. Tomorrow, in our next podcast, Ishayahu will turn towards another group of people with his criticisms. After berating and criticizing the general population, after discussing their religious responses that were corrupt and wrong, and then turning towards the leadership and their corruption, he turns towards the women of Judah. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. We hope to see you for our next podcast, where we will continue our study of Isaiah chapter 3.